Frist. Frist. Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Bonjour, comment ça va? What are some other ways to say what up in foreign languages? Bonjour, comment ça va? That's also fucking French. Que paso? Ni hao. Ni hao. Is ni hao like informal as well as formal though? Does it mean like good morning and also like what up? Depending on how you use it, or is there a different one for what up?
I think I remember like the full one being ni hao ni ha ma.
Ni hao ni ha ma.
Yeah.
So that's like the
whole shebang.
That's like the big formal one, and so ni hao is kind of like the quick one, the informal one. It's like Japanese, they've got arigato, and then they've got arigato gozaimasu, which is like the real formal version of thank you, whatever. Arigato gozaimasu. I might be wrong about that. I can't remember. G'day, mate. Oh, yeah. G'day. G'day. G'day, Donald. G'day, mate. I wonder where they start, like where the term mate became friend. Because like mate means like somebody that you're mating with. Your mate, your partner, like your other.
About ships mates and stuff.
I guess you're right, huh?
I think that's probably where the camaraderie of mate comes from.
Mate doesn't necessarily mean you're mating.
Yeah.
It means that you're paired.
Oh, you mean that? I thought you meant like the oi mate.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
I said that's probably from like ships and stuff, naval culture.
Someone who's your mate is a naval term. Yeah, see? It just goes to show you how differently we use the English language here. Because, like, yeah, we say mate here now jokingly. More like, I'll say good day, mate, to my friends every once in a while. But, like, for us, like, we don't, oh, me and me, mate. You know, we don't do that. That's not, like, what we do. For us, mate almost, you know, immediately means, you know, your mate. Mate is an Anglo thing. Well, yeah.
Too many fucking sailors.
Yep. I mean, look at how like this language got spread to Australia. You know what I mean? Like the British Empire sending their criminals down there on boats. Also, we don't really use it to mean that unless we're talking about animals. If you call your significant other your mate, it's kind of weird.
It'd be like saying like buddy or something. Like, this is my buddy Paul.
Yeah. I think he's talking about it like from our perspective.
Yeah.
Like we don't even say like an animal unless we're talking about animals.
Yeah.
So me talking about you and calling you my mate
Yeah.
would be weird too here. which is why, like, for me, it's a little strange to hear.
Speaking of Australia, they got payback for killing all the cats.
Oh, oh yeah, because they fucking...
The mouse plague.
Yup. I mean, it's not just the cats that they killed. It's all of the animals that used to keep those small rodent-type animals in check. Plus, they brought species of rodent on the ships with them that were not indigenous to Australia.
No, I mean, like, the cat thing was, like, recent. Like, because they were killing, like, feral cats. They started this big campaign 2 years ago to kill the feral cats because they were killing all the wildlife. But now all those feral cats are gone.
Yeah.
They just created, like, an ISIS, but it's mice. Mices.
Mices. Well, dude, the whole continent of Australia is fucked up because of invasive species.
Yeah.
Like, the first human beings that came and started settling in Australia non-indigenously brought with them rats. Rats did not exist on the Australian continent. Remember, like, Australia is a strange, huge island where evolution took a different path because the selective pressures were different. So you get marsupials and you get fucking platypuses and shit. You get this strange, unique ecosystem, and then you introduce these animals, rabbits. Like, rabbits were brought as game animals. Mice, dogs. All of these animals did not exist on the fucking Australian continent. There were dog-like animals like the what was it? The wolf, the marsupial wolf. But slowly but surely, like, Australia's unique biodiversity has been stripped from it. The koala bear, you guys better say bye to it because it's functionally extinct now. There's still koalas out there living, but every generation of koalas gets smaller because their habitat has been destroyed by humanity. There's the big
wildfires, climate change.
Right. Wildfires, climate change, and deforestation of their huge eucalyptus groves. And they go from being a ubiquitous animal in the forests to an animal that's barely hanging on.
But yeah, we just saw with those mice that it's like you remove one invasive species that's been established for a while, you create a power vacuum.
Goes to show you the interconnectedness of all life. You get rid of the feral cat population because they're killing too much stuff. You go too far with that, and the rodent and vermin population explodes, and they eat themselves out of house and home, and they do even more damage than the cats were doing to them. Yeah. Humans should not meddle in this shit.
Yep, you already fucked it. Fucking it again ain't gonna help.
Yep. You created an equilibrium now. You brought cats here. You brought mice and rats here. You created an equilibrium now where the cats are out there killing the fucking mice. Don't fuck with it. Because if you fuck with it, mice are going to explode. There's no natural predators for mice anymore on the continent. You know what I mean? There are insects that'll eat a mouse. The fucking huntsman spider and stuff will catch a mouse, but there's not enough.
And cats probably killed some of the things that killed mice, too.
Yeah. Cats probably killed a lot of the spiders and shit. I mean, think about it.
Yeah. We've just seen too many times, like, they'll have one invasive species and they'll bring in another invasive species to control that invasive species.
That's exactly why cats were brought.
Yeah.
Cats were brought en masse to fucking Australia to deal with the rats and mice that came over on boats.
And they just forgot that.
It's just ridiculous, dude. It's just they ruined that whole continent, ruined the very unique... Like Australia used to be like a giant Galapagos island. Just a giant community of animals that evolved under extraordinarily unique selective pressures and separate from a lot of the other animals on mainland continents because there was no land bridge. And so you've got this huge area where animals took a completely different evolutionary path, and we just bring our fucking animals to it. We bring our mice, we bring our rats, we bring our insects, and now all of a sudden it's just, you know. Yep. Cats ultimately were responsible for killing the dodo. Human beings hunted them to near extinction, but it was cats that finished them off. Same thing with like certain species of giant tortoise, which now don't exist. Goats, right? Seafaring people stocked an island with a bunch of goats so that there would be an abundant food source when they were passing by on their trips back and forth for trade. Not thinking about it, the goats strip the island of all vegetation, eat Lonely George and his entire type of tortoise out of house and home. And that's that. You know what I mean? So this is the downside to us just unthinkingly introducing species, unthinkingly bringing everything that we have to a completely different part of our habitat. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if there was. I have to imagine there were probably some people who understood the danger, maybe, of bringing a species that isn't native. But I can't answer that question. I don't know if there were like conservationists at that time that were concerned about humanity's encroachment into these other ecosystems. I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But I may be wrong. Projectile weapons broke the evolution game in a lot of ways. Yes, they did. Colonization probably made the church kings, queens very rich. They probably didn't take lightly to somebody sniping at the foundations of their empire so a dodo bird can go on living. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to understand what the whole push of Europeans towards the West was, right? It was not like it's painted to, I remember it was painted to me as a kid as Christopher Columbus, right, was just a guy that absolutely needed to know what was over there. He was an explorer. Mm-hmm. He couldn't fucking stand to live on this planet anymore and just to have this whole part of the map that was blank or very, very, incompletely filled out. And he, as an explorer, was driven by this deep desire to just know the planet that he lived on, to sail and start exploring this place. There's no truth in that. That is 100% a fantasy. Christopher Columbus was looking for a trade route to get to India. He posited that if he went west far enough that he would wrap around the world and hit India, which had America not been there, he'd have been right? Had the Americas not been there, he would have circumnavigated the globe and ended up in India. He was looking for a trade route that didn't include the dangerous trip around the Horn of Africa.
And I don't even think he was the first European to go over there either.
No, he wasn't. Amerigo Vespucci was the first European to make landfall in the Americas. Mm-hmm. And, well, I guess even before him, Eric the Red. So Eric the Red made a little fucking temporary village in what is now, I believe, Newfoundland. like hundreds of years before this. So
I think they probably knew something was there.
they see they did and they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't know how big it was. They didn't know if what had been discovered was just an island chain or another continent. But here's the thing: the trade route to India was one possibility. Discovering an unspoiled wilderness that he could claim for Queen Isabella was the other possibility. And that's what happened. So it just goes to show you what the thought process that was into the quote unquote exploration, discovery of the world, the circumnavigation of the globe. Like, yeah, there's this adventuresome spirit to doing that. Any man that jumped on the Nina, Pinta, or Santa Maria knew that there was a good chance that they were never coming back. So there is a bravery and a sense of fucking exploratory kind of drive in these things. But it was money that put them on the ship.
It wasn't no primary directive Star Trek shit.
No. None of them were just like, we go into the unknown, as a primary expeditionary action to make the unknown into the known. They were like, fucking pay me. I'm going to get hella paid for this. Yeah, divorce isn't allowed. Well, yeah, how about I get on that ship? Exactly. You know how much of that happened?
Yep.
People just escaping their obligations. You get on a ship and you go to a place where nobody knows where you are and nobody can get to you. It's like an invitation to start a new life. The memoirs from Spanish conquistadors, speaking of Aztec society, they speak of it like they found the city of Oz. The wonder in their writing is palpable. They had no idea what they were doing. Yeah. No, I know. Because think about it. I want you to try and put yourself in the mindset of a European, right? Where you live in what you consider to be the center of fucking civilization. You know about China, and you consider those people to be backwards barbaric. You know about Africa. You consider those people to be backwards and barbaric. The center of civilization, science, and commerce is your fucking world, right? The buildings of Europe, the architecture, the learning and the collection of learning of Europe, all of this stuff, you feel like we are the center of humanity on the planet, right? And then think about Cortez. Cortez sets out with a bunch of conquistadors, sails, finds this indigenous tribe of people on an island, and through communicating with them learns that there is a huge tribe of people inland. So he thinks, oh, okay, we're going to find more of these hut dwellers, more of these, very, very rudimentary kind of Stone Age peoples. He shows up and he finds fucking Tenochtitlan. An entire fucking civilization that's developed completely separate from his. Can you imagine? It would have been like setting foot on an alien planet. It would have been like literally jumping off of a boat and setting foot onto the shores of an alien planet. And the Aztecs looked at that first contact event in the same way, but just from the other way. When they saw us show up in our ships with our horses and our fucking... It's like, fuck. What is this? Where are these people from? What did they bring? There's that little moment in The Lord of the Rings we were just watching, where Sam says, look at that, it's an Oliphant. Nobody back in the Shire would believe this. Think about the wonder of being one of the first people to lay eyes on a species of animal that you never knew existed. To lay eyes on an entire civilization that you not only just knew very little about, you knew nothing. You didn't even know it existed. Yep. Columbus and his sailors thought manatees were mermaids because there was nothing like a manatee anywhere near Europe. And so they thought they were some kind of hybrid human / fish swimming around in the water. Ariel's not thick. Oh, you're talking about like the manatee. Yeah. Ariel the mermaid, despite being fucking 16, you creep, not thick.
But yeah, dude, they must have been having like some fucking fungus in their food or something to think that a manatee was hot.
I mean, I don't know that they thought that it was hot. I think that, because here's the thing, the legend of mermaids existed before they discovered the manatee. Mm-hmm. So I think in their minds, they probably looked at it like, oh, this is the animal that people used to back in the day think was a mermaid. I don't think they were looking at it like, damn, look at that big fat bitch swimming in the water. I don't think it was like that. I think they looked at the manatee and they were like, okay, well, this must be the animal that people saw back in, ancient Greece. But it was gold, right? So Cortez is greeted by the natives, by the Aztecs. He's taken as an honored guest to meet Montezuma. And what does he see when he makes that trip? When he's taken into the city center? Gold. Fucking G-O-L-D, literal gold dripping off of everybody. The closer he gets to the temple, the more drip he sees. And all of a sudden he realizes, not only have I stumbled upon an entire race of people that we didn't know existed, I have stumbled upon a rich race of people that don't have fucking metalworking and shit. All of the wheels started turning immediately. It was like, okay. Dripping in gold, dripping in lapis lazuli, dripping in silver. You get a shipload of that shit and take it back to Spain, you're getting a fucking commendation from the Queen. You set up a supply line where you can endlessly send gold back to the Queen, you're basically her right-hand man. Think of it. Platinum too, but Cortez didn't care for that. Nobody really did. I mean, platinum, I'm sure was used back in the fucking day, but I don't think the value of it versus some of the other metals was realized. Capitalism was born long before that. Capitalism just came to North America that day. Cortez had already set up basically a slave plantation on Marguerite. I'm trying to remember the name of the island. That's not it, but there's an island in the Bahamas where Cortez set up his original operation or whatever the fuck, and he had already taken over operations set up by other conquistadores that were basically slave plantations. Yeah, Cuba was already a Spanish colony, right? So you got to understand, it was already known what they were there for. But the principles of capitalism were in place. I take your good, I sell it. That's the capitalistic impulse was in place. Right. It wasn't established as the driving market force, but capitalism was being used every single fucking day. barter, trade, I have wealth, you don't. All of this shit was there. That's all the central tenets of capitalism. Sailing and space travel are linked in my mind, regardless. Space travel. Well, you can, if you look at the history of the exploration of this planet by European settlers, you see in it, if we were to come up with the gravity drive or whatever, some kind of propulsion system that allows us to get around light speed, right? And allows us to travel within a reasonable amount of human lifetime to these distant planets and start colonizing them. You are seeing, when you study the history of the Spanish conquistadores, just European exploration and settlement of the North American region and the South American region, right? You're looking at the future of humanity amongst the stars. Because what they did was, whether they meant to or not, in the name of exploration, in the name of finding and claiming new territory and breaching those horizons, they destroyed native species. We just got done talking about how Australia used to be this huge fucking like conservation island of insanely unique species. We show up. South America used to be the home of, well, it still is the home of one of the largest rainforests on the planet. I think it still is the home to the largest rainforest on the planet. More biodiversity on that fucking part of the continent than anywhere else on the fucking planet. And look what we've done to it. Exactly. You're absolutely right, Caesar. Even if we don't mean to, even if we go into it with this idea of like, oh, we want to be observers, we want to just explore and expand, but we don't want to do it at the cost of native species. We're gonna do it anyway, because once you get out there in the frontier, the rules don't apply. The cops aren't coming. Nobody's there to look over your shoulder. You can take and make it yours. Like, who's gonna fucking pass that? So for me, for my part, I'm thankful that 99.99% of the shit that people talk about human beings fucking colonizing Mars or moving to another planet is fantasy. I'm thankful that this species, in its avariciousness, will not escape this fucking planet. Because if it did, I want you to imagine the suffering, destruction, and loss of fucking diversity and over fucking exploitation of resources that would happen on a universal scale. It is a good thing that we are a landlocked species. We are here on this planet. There is no way that our knowledge of technology will outstrip our desire to destroy one another, and that is good. There are probably a lot of species like us in the history of the universe, or currently living in some era of, some at least adjacent era to the one that we're in now. These types of species, and when I say these types of species, I'm talking about my species, humanity, should not escape this planet. We should not. Because all we will do is destroy and exploit. We will rape, murder, bastardize, torture, burn, slash, cut, gut, fucking demolish anything that stands in our way of maximum exploitation. No, I don't think a new culture would be able to develop on Mars. I guess the funding and resources. Right, exactly. All of the funding is coming from Earth. All of the resources are coming from Earth. All of the news and entertainment is coming from Earth. It would take fucking millennia for some kind of unique culture to develop on Mars. And even then, it would be a subculture of Earth. It would have most of Earth's impulses. It would be under the fucking guidance of Earth. It would take millennia for some kind of unique human civilization to develop on some other planet. Unless we're so far from Earth, right, that Earth doesn't matter anymore. It's just that. It's a mining colony. That's the end game. A mining colony. They know 100% that we are thousands of years from being able to terraform a planet. They know that. Like, when I say they, I mean any scientist that's talking about how, oh yeah, we could do it. We could do it. We're not gonna. Like, we've talked about this before, but part of what makes a mining operation on Mars, or even a mining operation on the asteroid belt, right, completely and utterly fantasy, is the amount of propulsion that it would take, not only to get heavy machinery out there, or to get the manufacturing equipment for heavy machinery out there, but to bring back the Lodor. Right? People are going like, oh yeah, there's fucking tons of this unexploited resources on these planets and in the fucking asteroid belt, and we could, like, really solve scarcity here on Earth by fucking exploiting this. You have no idea. It would take so much propulsion power just to get the machinery, heavy as it would have to be, to mass exploit this type of thing out there. And then what do you got? You've got like 2 trillion tons of Lodor. Great. How are you bringing that back to Earth? How are you towing it back to Earth, let alone getting it back into the atmosphere in a way that isn't using more fucking resources to get it up and down than it is to exploit it? Mars is not Earth, right? Lobotomies, it's not Earth, so it's got temperature extremes. It's got no fucking atmosphere, or very little atmosphere in comparison to Earth. It's got no fucking magnetosphere. It's a dream. It's like the moon is a dream. Look at the moon. All you have to know why we won't have a fucking long-term base on the moon of any size or complexity is to just look at the moon. All you have to do is look at the moon. It is pockmarked with asteroid impact. Okay? And those are the big ones that have hit it. It is pelted all day and all night with micrometeors because it has no atmosphere. How are you going to build something on a planet that's constantly getting fucking hammered from space? You don't. The answer is you don't. But people want to keep pretending like we're heading in that direction or some shit. We're not. I'm sorry. The answer, Zach, is terraforming. The answer is going to a planet that doesn't have an atmosphere and creating these big machines that don't exist yet, even theoretically, that process the atmosphere and create an Earth-like atmosphere so that people can live on the surface of the planet. It's science fantasy. It's not even science fiction, it's science fantasy at this point, to talk about that in any real way as a future for humanity. Do you say we're in the peak of human culture civilization? I would say we're approaching it. I don't know that we're necessarily there, but I think that we are fast approaching the peak. And the peak is not always a good thing, because we're talking about peak exploitation, peak oil, which is passed about a decade ago, peak extraction of mineral resources and natural resources from the planet, peak exploitation, peak population. None of these are have good connotations, right? Peak meat consumption, right? Right. What comes after the peak? The decline. And I think if we're not there already, we're fast approaching the peak. The Prime Directive is an absolute fantasy. An absolute fantasy. It's a beautiful fantasy. I love the Roddenberry vision for humanity. I really do. I think it's beautiful. I also think it's naive. You get human beings 1 trillion miles away from Earth on a brand new planet, and you tell me how much fucking influence Earth is going to be able to exert over that. Yeah, you have a Prime Directive. You're not supposed to fucking destroy species. You're not supposed to hyper-exploit. You get a fucking huge colony ship of human beings that lands on a planet somewhere fucking 1 trillion fucking miles from Earth, like 1,000 light years from Earth, and you watch how quickly they make it their own. It's just not the way it works. As beautiful an idea as it is, it's one that humanity itself just cannot attain. We're not built for that. Which is why I think it's a good thing our species will never functionally escape from this planet. We're too dangerous. We're too destructive. We're too avaricious. Even then, you have to talk about the logistics of transporting people to Mars. It takes a long time. How do you feed the people that are on board for that long with no natural resources present? Well, I mean, you could look to science fiction for some theoretical answers on that. What about a surrogate ship? Like the one that is in Alien Covenant, right? So you have a bunch of fertilized embryos placed in some sort of stasis in the ship, a minimum amount of humans to maintain those embryos. And then once you get to whatever planet we're talking about, in this case Mars, right? You unfreeze batches of those embryos and begin raising children on the planet that will eventually have children. And, you know, you slowly but surely do that, right? There are ethical problems with that. There are ethical problems with us setting foot on another fucking planet. There are ethical problems with us sending our machinery and space garbage out to another planet and leaving it there to just fucking rot and rust. Okay? Human ethics are based on a terrestrial fucking perspective. Once you go out into the space kind of faring shit, talking theoretically about that, new ethics need to be fucking made. New human ethics are in place. I think it was a Wizard of Cause who said something like there wouldn't be capitalism if we colonize the moon. As soon as we get there, it'll be a fight. Oh, yeah. You would need to start up the planet's core to create a better magnetic field, aka throw asteroids until the surface is molten. I mean, there's all kinds of fucking crazy shit. There's all kinds of crazy fucking shit. Right? That people don't understand. Like, it's not just like, we're going to fucking land on a planet. There are Earth-like planets out there that are 2 times the gravity of Earth. How do we fucking deal with that? A human being can't fucking live there. As Earth-like as it may be, you set foot on that planet without some kind of exoskeletal fucking support of your muscles. And even then, it might fucking damage your internal organs. Your brain. You know what I mean? You can't. There are planets out there that have a mix that theoretically would support certain types of plant life, but doesn't have the oxygen-argon combination that we have that we need to fucking breathe. So what do we do with that planet? Well, the answer is some giant machine has to be made to process the atmosphere, make it livable for us, thus destroying everything else that lives there. How much longer will we even be lasting on this planet? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that the writing is on the wall. We are living through a 6th mass extinction event right now. Mass extinction events are events that kill a profound percentage of life on the planet. And we're in the midst of one of these, watching it happen, going like, huh, we're life on this planet. Hello? We're one of the species on this planet, and the dice have been cast already as to which ones will survive and which won't. I mean, I've already told you guys some of the shit that scientists are saying that presage the possibility that things are about to get real on the planet, right? Lethal wet bulb temperature at the fucking equator is something that we've talked about quite a bit lately. And the obviously mass migration of about 45% of the planet as a result of that. We've talked about that, right? We've talked about the death of the ocean, how the oceans are acidifying. We've known this for decades, but they're actually acidifying quicker than we thought they were, which upsets the delicate pH balance that's needed for phytoplankton, which create 40 to 45% of the oxygen. You take a breath, about half of that came out of the ocean. The ocean's capacity to produce the oxygen that we need to survive is dying. Air quality dropping everywhere. We're living through it. We're just at the front edge of it here. So it's very easy for us to look back at the fucking 40 years that preceded it and go like, okay, we can pump the brakes here, guys. We can't. The brake handle is broken off. The fucking boiler engine of this giant train has gone completely out of control with fire. It's heading towards an unfinished piece of track. We can see it coming. Not just optimists, pessimists alike can look out the window of this motherfucker and see the end. The writing is on the wall. The oceans are dying. The climate is shifting in a way that's going to make fucking half the world have to move. War, famine, disease, pestilence. We just lived through a fucking global pandemic. 500,000 people here in this country just croaked in a year that would have been alive otherwise. This is presaging. What do you think is going to happen? Like, you understand how these diseases work, right? They develop in an area, and then they use the migratory nature of human beings or other animals to spread. We're talking about a time where people from completely different areas are going to be massively streaming into other areas of the planet. What do you think that is going to avail a disease of? Far more traffic between these parts of the planet as people move back and forth. Guys, that's one angle on this. COVID was a canary in the coal mine. And if it wasn't for you, you're just willfully ignorant of the truth. All it's going to take is something like COVID that has the same kind of transmission aspect of COVID, but kills 1% more people or 2% more people. That sounds like nothing. That's devastation.
And if it's just a little bit more transmissible, like, it's not like every single person caught COVID. But
What made COVID so dangerous wasn't necessarily how far it could travel through the air, how long it could incubate in a host with no symptoms, and in some hosts with no symptoms throughout.
yeah.
they're fucking transmitting it and they don't even know they have it.
So that a longer incubation period would cause way more people to
A
get
similar incubation period with a higher mortality rate is all it would take. The exact same incubation style and transmission style of COVID-19 with 2% higher mortality rate would devastate the planet.
And I think a lot of people are going to be more resistant to shutting down for the next one.
Yeah. Because it wasn't treated right.
Yeah.
Because people weren't taken care of. Their businesses closed. They went destitute. They lost their homes. They're not going to want to shut down again because the government didn't do what it should have done. Hello, B.
Millions of people that are behind on rent right now. The moratorium's ending this month.
Tens of thousands of people lost their livelihoods, lost their small businesses.
I don't know about tens of thousands.
Tens
of millions.
Well, tens of thousands of small businesses closed. Probably just in certain states.
Yeah. But I just mean like the overall unemployed.
Right.
Tens of millions.
Could you imagine a fungus, spores that are not easily destroyed that remain in the soil for decades and it kills us? Yeah, fungus is adapting to higher temperatures. Our internal body temperatures protected us from fungal infections for most of mammals' existence, but as temperature rises, we will be more vulnerable to fungus. Yep. Get a PFP. I'm gonna time you out and give you time to get a PFP. That's you, Carter, by the way, in case you didn't notice. Get a PFP or leave. I'll ban you next time. Lucky I didn't get to him. I know. Lucky I was fucking quick on the draw that time because asbestos would just ban you. You need a profile picture, yes. If you don't know what PFP means, a profile picture. You see how everybody in chat has a little picture next to their name and not the default? You need to have that. So get a PFP. How do people not know they need a PFP? I don't know. They do, and it's just, it's going to be one of those things. It's a rule, so it has to be enforced. And there are people out there that just see a rule, and they're like, oh, I'm going to break that. It's like, okay, fair. And it's hard to know, whether I'm dealing with somebody that just doesn't know, or whether I'm dealing with somebody that's trying to push it. So it is what it is, I give them a warning when I think that they're maybe in ignorance, and when I think that they're not, they just get banned. They just get clacked. This climate refugee crisis, is it possible Western powers literally refuse them? Then you're going to be talking about a slaughter, the likes of which it's going to make the fucking Holocaust look like a joke. You're talking about setting up, you know what? My cousins were talking about that. You remember? Yeah. My cousin made a joke. I know how to stop, because I was telling them about this mass migration that's going to happen. I know how you put a stop to that. It's called a Barrett 50 millimeter.
That's the attitude of a lot of people, I'm sure.
They were like semi-joking about that, but there you go. Yeah. Thanks for the daily reminder we're all screwed. You're welcome. The moon has no atmosphere. What you didn't say is that the surface temp of the moon is 260 degrees with 14 day-to-day. I don't know what that means, but try growing anything on that. Yeah, there's going to be nothing growing. Now, that's the whole point, is it's a fantasy, right?
Oh, they're saying that it takes 14 days for it to have a whole day.
It doesn't have a day. It's tidally locked. So the sun is always shining on the same face of the moon, right? Or no? Am I wrong about that? No, because the Earth's shadow passes over the moon. So it's 14 full days for what would constitute a day on the face of the moon and the sunlit. And then there's the dark side that never gets sunlight at all, no matter where it is. And it's probably fucking 200 below zero over there. Like, what's the temperature on the dark side of the moon? Right, it's tidally locked.
That reminds me of your one, like, biggest blunder, I think, was, like, saying that the moon doesn't rotate or something.
Yeah, I did say some stupid shit. Like, back on DP, we were talking about some shit. And I said some shit about how the moon isn't rotating. Like, how it just stays in the same spot. And then, like, dude, the whole comment section was filled with people like, dude, does Paul not know that the moon is just, like, it does rotate. It just rotates at the same time as the Earth. It's, like, tidally locked to the Earth. I was like, oh. Well, I'd heard the terminology before, but I thought...
You just think the dark side of the moon was, like, permanent or something.
Right. Right.
Which is not.
It's not. Well, there is a dark side of the moon that never gets sunlight on it, right?
All parts of it get sunlight.
It's just we never see the other side of the moon because it's tidally locked, so it's always rotating along with us, showing it its same face, right? And so just because we don't see it, when we're not seeing it, the sun is on the dark side, right? That's what it is, right? Or am I wrong? Explain it to me better. It's tidally locked, right? Which means, here's the Earth. The Earth rotates on its axis, right? And it rotates around the sun. The moon is a satellite of the Earth. And it's rotating as well around us as we rotate in an elliptical orbit, right?
Yeah.
But it's also rotating at such a speed that it is tidally locked to the Earth, which means that, like, as the Earth rotates, so does the moon. That's why the face of the moon never looks any different. A full moon always is the same full moon. We don't see the other side of the moon. That doesn't mean that the moon isn't turning. Or that sun doesn't hit the ass end of the moon. Right? Am I right so far?
Yeah.
That just means we can't see the moon when that's happening. Like when we have a crescent moon, that's the Earth's shadow casting on the face of the moon. But that also means that there's part of the moon that's fully exposed to the sun. Okay. Did I get it? It'll be fine, Jack. All you have to do is keep voting Democrat and we'll take care of that climate change problem, Fat. Yep. Did I not? I didn't get it? And Prim says I didn't get it.
Oh. God damn it.
I partly got it. It's the moon's own shadow. How do you cast a shadow on yourself? Dun, dun. See? Even years ago, I was corrected on this, and I still don't get it.
You just need to be allowed to go on the moon just to have it explained to you.
I just need to go to the Wikipedia article and read it while kind of looking at you guys, so it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Astronomy Point 1 with Professor Seago.
DFF the moon.
DFF the moon, yeah. I don't want to do it, though. I think TJ might understand it a little better, so I'll let him do it. He's the guy that planned a whole RV trip to the moon, so yeah. I'll defer to him. This will be on the exam. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Dude, you know what would be the worst? If fucking Scotty did, like, a quiz show on, like, astronomy.
Oh my god, I'd die. Well, like, I know some shit, like names of different planets and stars and stuff. I might do half-ass decent at that, but like the physics behind it and like you see, like, but it's just true. Like correct me if I'm wrong, there's incredibly complex math involved in really genuinely fully explaining the interaction between the Earth and the moon. how one rotates on its axis and how one maintains its rotation within its orbit of the Earth. There's so much math involved that explaining it verbally is kind of tough. Math, well, physics is math, right? Physics is the math of how the physical objects interact with one another. Applied mathematics, right? I fucking hate math too, dude. My brain is mush when it comes to math. It really is. If you're stuck at the math end, astronomy is just something you woe through. Exactly. And I feel like that too. One plus one is two. 2 plus 2 is 4. Quick maths. But you don't have to take my word for it. And please don't. If it's anything like, you guys can see. I'm fully open to trying to explain these things, but, there's some smart motherfuckers in my chat. They're not going to let me get away with, describing physical reality incorrectly, and I appreciate that. But it's just not something I spend a lot of time fucking talking about. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not just math. You're right. Philosophy is part of it too. And we just got done having a long conversation about the philosophy and the philosophical underpinnings and the ethical underpinnings of human beings escaping this planet. Do you think we'll be entering a conflict with China and or Russia anytime soon? I don't know. I know that we're posturing for that conflict for sure. Whether or not that conflict will be anything more than just an ongoing Cold War, I don't know. Proxy wars, right? I don't even think I could tell you all the times tables, probably. Oh, no. I'm the type of person that as soon as I got out of school, I gave up on the idea of learning about mathematics because my brain is not oriented that way. Like, you stick me in an English class and I'm a smart motherfucker. Probably top fucking 10th percentile of any English class you throw me in. Right? You put me in a math class at the same level and I'm in the bottom. I don't think math is the hardest subject. I've talked to people, I had a friend who was fucking dope at math, struggled every second of the day in English lit, fucking just English and history kind of based shit, just struggled every fucking way for it. You know what I mean? So it's like certain people, it's like a left brain, right brain type of thing. I don't want to reduce it all to that, but certain people have a facility for math that other people don't. See, Asbestos Fingers is one of those folks. I'm fucking amazing at reading books and parsing my ideas about those books or deconstructing books or writing my own, fucking take on the books or writing a research paper on a topic that I care about or philosophically defending or arguing against something that's presented in a book. Like all the things that, literature and English classes try and teach you, which is basically how to parse information as a critical thinker. I'm fucking great at that shit. Dude, I tear the roof off that shit. I'm not trying to brag. I just fucking boom. That's my shit. Yeah. Anything that has to do with philosophy, art, literature, music theory, I'm about it, right? You put math in it, which I understand at the higher levels, music theory is all math. I'm talking to entry level shit. You start to introduce math, I'm like, see ya. Physics degree with a philosophy minor. Cool. Neat, man. You have an interesting brain. You met a lot of creatives. In your personal experience, are creatives typically not as good at math? I mean, I don't know. See, that's the thing is like, I've met a lot of creative folks. I would say that, like, anecdotally speaking, it tends to be true, but there are exceptions that prove the rule. Scotty's really good at math. Scotty's also a creative. He's a different kind of creative than, like, say, TJ is or Marshall is, right? But he's got a facility for math. So I would say that it doesn't necessarily hold true across the board, but I would say anecdotally, most of the creative folks that I have interacted with are not exactly math brain people, you know? Very few people are great at anything. Let's be real. To be great at something, great, you have to have a combination of genetic propensity for that talent and a lifetime spent in pursuit of it. And most people don't have that. Most people that play the guitar play it as a hobby, right? And that's not to dog on people, but most people that play the guitar don't spend their life learning it like Django Reinhardt did, right? Django Reinhardt is a great guitarist. Most guitar players are mediocre in comparison. A lot of philosophers throughout history were also mathematicians. True that. Exceptions that prove the rule right there. That's why I said anecdotally. There's a creative facility to philosophy. I can also see the kind of logarithmic side of it. Because, in a lot of philosophy, statistics come into play. Statistics is all math. Even though it tracks human interest, human behavior, human suffering, blah, 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 right? It's all mathematics. Django is one of the best, way beyond his years when he came out. People are finally catching up to him now. I know. Well, that's just the thing, is like, that's the difference between great and good. And the difference between Django Reinhardt and 99% of people that pick up a guitar and play it at some level is that Django Reinhardt devoted his fucking life to it. We're talking 50, 60,000 hours of deliberate practice on the guitar to get to that point. And most people don't do that. Certain philosophies deal with mathematics and statistics. Of course they do. Like, I never wanted to make this kind of like, and if I did, let me correct myself. This kind of divided world where there's like a math world and a philosophy world and a creative world and an English or language world. And, I didn't mean to, if the way I presented these ideas implied to you that there wasn't overlapping magisteria between all of these, then I apologize. That was not my intent. Of course, all of these things bleed one into the other. They're all parts of human endeavor, right? They all came from us. So I'm not saying mathematics came from us, but our understanding of it came from us, just as our understanding of language, literature, creativity came from us. It's all part of the same thing. Yeah, you fall somewhere on the spectrum. Some people fall multiple places on that spectrum in terms of their ability and stuff, right? You can't pigeonhole this. You also have to put it in the time. You don't do anything else. You play the guitar, and you can apply this to any hobby, trade. 1,000 hours of training is going to improve someone who already has talent. Yeah. But when you're talking about somebody like Django Reinhardt or Steve Vai, right, another fucking amazing guitarist, you have to imagine at least 10,000, maybe 20,000 hours of deliberate practice on that fucking machine, maybe even more. 1,000 hours, 30,000 hours, 50,000 hours. There's a difference, right? Fuck. Human beings are just so fucking interesting. God damn us. Our psychology is so fucking interesting. You ever just get overcome with the majesty of the human psychosphere? How it all just somehow kind of works together. Even though there are just so many different points of view and so many different ways of perceiving the same event and so many different ways of experiencing an event and experiencing a piece of art or creating a piece of art, all of this shit. And it's all connected, right? You may think that you're talking about one aspect of culture and you're completely separate from another, but those things are married. Weed, please. Why must you be so good? Mary Jane, I love you. Why must you be so harsh to me? I'm in love with Mary Jane. Why you gotta be so mean to me sometimes, Mary Jane? Oh, Lord. Everything is connected. Cut your hair, Paul. I know. What a hippie. I get overwhelmed with that sometimes. And in this case, excuse me. Fucking. Callie, please. Huh. In this case, I got overwhelmed with just the complexity of human psychology, how it encompasses everything that we perceive, and how everything that we perceive encompasses everything about our reality, and how human beings are constantly trying to expand the boundaries of that reality and the boundaries of that knowledge, and how it's all connected. How there are different ways of parsing universal truth as we can understand it, or as close to it as we can understand. Math is involved, philosophy is involved, science is involved, comedy is involved. All of these things are integral parts of how we as human beings somehow come together and understand the world, the planet, and each other. As fucked up as things are right now. And I think I don't need to tell you guys that sit and watch me a lot that things are real fucked up. It's all working anyway, right? least we have time to contemplate these thoughts. Not much time to do that when we're still hunter-gatherer stage of humanity. Yeah, I suppose so. Trolling is interesting, though. You say all these interesting things to talk about, and some people spend time trolling this chat, but trolling is interesting. Now, not necessarily, that doesn't mean that every troll that comes in is interesting. In fact, most of them aren't, but the concept of trolling, we've talked about this. This goes way back, guys. Trolls were not invented on the internet. Trolls existed way before the internet. I'm living proof of that. I was trolling before the internet. And so was Socrates, or at the very least, the example of Socrates. I'm not trying to compare myself, but I'm just saying. Socrates called himself a gadfly, which is another way of saying a troll. He found it was he thought that one of his primary actions was to be an irritant. Plato's imagination, right? It's the same thing for Diogenes, right? Diogenes likely and almost certainly did not exist. Diogenes exists as a parable to give an example, right? When I was young, I learned the bridge troll and 3 billy goats gruff. That's where it all began, right? And that's, I think, the etymology of the term troll. It comes from the billy goats gruff, right? You're a bridge. Trolls used to be called bridge trolls back in the day because they were inhibitors of the free flow of conversation, commerce, and interaction on the internet. You would come to this point, and here comes a troll saying, who the fuck are you? You want to keep going and having fun on the internet? You must get past me, ye billy goats 3. You know what I mean? And so they started calling people trolls. I loved trolling TJ while he was playing the DFF game because he was starting to get angsty, you know what I mean? So I threw some trolls in there. Crazy how guys like Kent Hovind are still out there selling lies. Get out of here. What are you even talking about, bro? We're not talking about that. But you can troll in real life. It's not confined to it. Borat, for example. Oh, no, of course. People do it all the fucking time. I troll in real life all the time. Good-naturedly. We all do. Like my mom, for example. She's gullible a little bit. And so I love trolling her a little bit by telling her some shit that, like, isn't real and then letting her react to it for a second and then going, no, I'm just kidding, Mom. Then she hits me, smacks me on the arm. You bastard! I love it, right? That's trolling. That's misleading somebody or engaging somebody in a way just to get a funny reaction out of them. Of course your parents troll you a lot. That dude, like the whole dad joke shit that everybody makes fun of, right? What do you think that is? What do you think that is? What do you think dad jokes are about? It's about trolling you. It's about showing up in our high-waisted fucking cargo shorts and our Birkenstocks, and you're sitting around with your nose ring listening to your trap, and we drop a nuke on you, right? We just say some dad shit that doesn't even really insult you. It just makes you go like, huh? What do you think that is? You're being trolled. Hi, hungry. I'm Dad. Exactly. Dad, I'm hungry. Trolled. Where's your best dad jokes growing up? Dude, my friend Waylon, his dad, he's passed away now, unfortunately. But he was a real troll. Like, he had this shit. Every time I would show up, number one, he called me Slim. Right? Never called me by my name. Called me Slim. I was a fat kid. Trolled, right? Immediately as I walk in the door. Well, how's it going, sir? How's it going, ma'am? Hey, Slim. Ironic. You think so? Ironic. You think so? Hey, look who it is, Slim. Like, fuck. He would say some, well, yeah, it is, but it's not, he didn't say it to like ridicule me out of the house or anything. It was just like a little jab. It was like a little troll to take me off my guard. Because he knows that, like, usually when I go do this at other people's houses, they go like, oh, hello, BJ, and how are you? At people's houses, they go like, oh, hello, BJ, and how are you? And he wasn't going to give me that. What up, Slim? Right? Then, right, he had these things. He would ask these nonsensical questions, these paradoxical questions that had no answer. He would walk at, like, we would be sitting as, like, you know, tweens or whatever, 12, 13 years old, just sitting around, you know, fucking playing video games, having some kind of conversation. He would walk in and he'd go, hey, shut that off. Pause it. I got a question for you. I got a question for you. And he would point at one of us. And we would all be like, oh, shit, a big important question from, like, from an adult. So we'd pause and he'd be like, look, do you walk to school or carry your lunch? Can you settle this for me? We'd be like, what? You heard me. Do you walk to school or carry your lunch? We would spend like fucking 5 minutes just looking at him like, and then he'd just walk away. Probably to go into the other room and laugh his ass off. Like, he was legendary troll. Legendary. My dad was more of like the mean troll, right? Which, like, looking back on it, is kind of fucked up. But my dad was like the mean troll, right? So that guy, he was like the nonsense troll, right? So my friend Waylon's dad was like the nonsense troll. My dad was not a nonsense troll. He was like the mean troll. He would like, we'd be chilling in my room, which my room back when I lived with my dad was a converted part of like what used to be the living room. They just put up some double doors and made like a room downstairs because most of the bedrooms were like upstairs at my dad's house. So it was the only bedroom on the downstairs level. So my dad would just like walk into my room out of the living room and be like he'd smell. Like, obviously he's sniffing the air. Right? And we'd be like, what are you doing? You like trying to see if we're doing drugs or something? We're not. We're just hanging out. And he's like, nope, just trying to see if the virgin smell was still present, and it is. See you later. And he'd just like close the door. We'd be like, because it was true. Beyond savage, dude. He was the mean troll. He dubbed us the loser crew. Just like a mean troll would, if you had like a group of friends online, you had like a little show and they'd be like, they take your name and they turn it into something mean. Like he dubbed us the loser crew. He'd be like, what's going on in here today, loser crew? Video games, cartoons on the TV, still virgins? Yup. All right. We'd be like, man, fuck you. Like, all right. He wouldn't even react to it. He'd just be like, all right. Because he knew that, like, you wish you had a dad like that? No, you don't. Trust me, no, you don't. It's nowhere near as fucking funny as it sounds when that is how you interact with your dad. Because it wasn't just when my friends were around that he was like that. He was like that to me all the time. That you don't want that. It's funny in retrospect to look back at it. I can parse some of that shit into funny. Do you ever get back at him? Not in a meaningful way. No, you never get back at your dad. He's in a position. That's like asking the court jester if he got back at the king. The answer is no. The answer is no, I did not. My grandpa's like that. When it's like that all the time, it's not fun. No, it actually becomes abusive. Like, I don't mean to drag the conversation down, but let's just say you don't want a dad like that. My dad was invested in tearing down what little self-esteem I had, which was very little, as a kid that was suffering from pretty much undiagnosed and untreated depression and anxiety. My dad was thoroughly invested in tearing down any semblance of self-esteem I may have. In front of my friends, where it was parsed as a joke, privately where it wasn't. It was parsed as a joke privately as well, but a joke for him to laugh at. My dad said some straight out horrible fucking things to me. Horrible. Like, I don't know if I've shared this one with you guys, but this, I won't, like, look, I'm not the type of guy that's going to try and misquote a dude. Okay? And so I am paraphrasing here because his exact phrasing, it was years and years and years ago, right? He told me, and I don't even remember what the disagreement we were having was. He told me, think about this. I just want you to hear this shit. He told me, and this was when I was a teenager. So I was like 15 when he told me this. My dad. He told me, I should have pulled out of your mother. You are the sorriest load of spunk I ever shot. No laugh at the end of it. No, just kidding. No. Just straight out in the middle of an argument with me, pointed at me and told me that. So that's what I'm talking about. Dude was invested in grinding me down to a fucking nub. He was an army guy. You know what I mean? He was just mean. Mean. And I'm not saying I didn't deserve it. No, I'm not. Well, I am saying I didn't deserve it. I was a child, but I'm not saying I didn't do anything to fucking provoke it. Yeah, I was a little lazy when I was a fucking teenager. Who isn't? I wasn't, I like to fucking hang out with my friends and smoke pot and play video games and shit. What teenager doesn't? And that to him was like time I should be spending, I don't know, doing whatever he thought I should be doing. I did laugh if my dad when my dad said that to me. He said it to me in front of my friends. We all laughed. But I still remember him saying it to me. Multiple times. So I wouldn't call it the last laugh, Pranav. No, he never apologized. My dad has never apologized to me other than one time. And he didn't even, I wasn't even the one do the fucking apology. My wife at the time was, my now ex-wife, was the one do the fucking apology. And the closest he could get to that was pulling me aside and apologizing to me. And I was like, look, I appreciate the apology because you did piss me off, but ultimately you hurt my wife. It wasn't anything huge. It wasn't like he fucking hit her or anything. On Facebook, he used a platform that she was using. I've told you guys this before. She ran a marathon. It was a 2-day marathon for breast cancer relief and shit, run by the Komen Foundation, which, set aside the fucking Komen Foundation. She did it because she lost her grandmother to cancer, breast cancer specifically. And her grandmother pretty much raised her. So she did it in the spirit of that. Worked her fucking ass off to get in shape, to do it. I remember at the end of day 1 helping her take her shoes off and her feet were like hamburger. And I was like, honey. Because she fucking jogged 22 miles. I was like, honey, you can't do this. She was like, just help me clean it up and put a bandage on it. I'll be fine. So I helped her. I supported her through this. I watched how hard she worked for it. She posts on Facebook a picture of her and her mom on the finish line, having both completed the marathon. And my dad starts posting all this, Komen Foundation is a bunk, and Komen blah, 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 just undercutting everything she's fucking doing. And so I confronted him, not her, and I said, hey, asshole, how about you keep this to yourself? I watched how hard she worked for this. You lost your fucking mother to breast cancer. When's the last time you did anything? Dick. Something like that. Then I got a phone call. PJ, can we meet up for lunch? Oh, I didn't even know you were in fucking town. You're in town? Well, yeah. Can we meet up for lunch? Okay. Meets me for lunch, apologizes to me. And I told him, okay, yeah. I appreciate it because I was fucking pissed. You pissed me off because you attacked my wife, but you attacked my wife. Are you planning on apologizing to her? Well, hemmed and hawed about it. We moved on to other fucking things. Guess who never got a fucking apology? Never once did he apologize to her. I think he went back and took his posts down. Well, thanks. How magnanimous of you, Dad, to allow her post to not be filled with your fucking political garbage. Thanks, Dad. I left my post to him up, by the way. my response stayed up. What was he thinking when he posted that? He wasn't. He's an asshole. He was thinking, I want to undercut this person's self-esteem. Oh, look, somebody related to PJ did something that they're super proud of. Let me make them a little less proud of it. That's what he was fucking thinking. Dude is a sociopath. I was raised by a person that was invested in making me small. Really making me live up to the etymology of my name. That's what Paul means. That's the etymology of the name Paul. Meek, small. I don't know if he knows about Amelia or not. I could give a fuck less. If he does know about her, he didn't think like, oh, it's been fucking like 8 years. Maybe I'll break the ice by calling my fucking son and congratulating him on getting married. So if he does know about it, he's sticking to his fucking guns. No. No. My dad respected me to the point where he provided for me, and I'm grateful for that. But as far as personal respect, my dad didn't respect me. As I ramped up into adulthood, my dad was there to tamp down my fucking personality as much as possible, the whole way down. I didn't immediately break the cycle of abuse, though, guys. I took that anger and that nastiness from him. I'm able to be real, like, I can fire an arrow at you, dude, if I know you. And I've used that against people that I love in my past. How horrible, right? So don't look at me like I'm somebody that immediately made the position. Yes, my dad was a physical abuser. Don't look at me like somebody that immediately took that position. I didn't. I was never a physical abuser of anybody. But I'll be goddamn if I wasn't verbally abusive to some people in my past, some of my partners. It took me a long time to parse that wit that I learned from him and to use it in a way that isn't directly fucking negative. I'm 100% sure my dad was a Trump guy. 100%. It fits his fucking shit to a T. There's a half-assed chance that he doesn't like Trump, but still conservative. My dad did a fucking good job raising me too, though, dude. That's the thing. That's what makes all this fucked up. Is like in the midst of all of this, it's not like my life was total torture. When I was younger, my dad was a different person to me. He was like almost the opposite of that shit. Yes, he was physically abusive to me when I was littler. But outside of those, which were couched as discipline for me for doing something wrong, he was very supportive of me. Spent a lot of his free time trying to engage me in things that I was interested in, made available to me anything that I had a passing interest in if he could afford to. You know what I mean? He was not that guy to me. It was almost like when you know how boys, right, they go through this period starting at around like 11 where they're starting to dip their toe into like nascent manhood. Hormones are kicking in. All of this shit, right? That prepubescent launching into pubescence, where people start, like little boys in particular, start to individuate a little bit, right? When I reached that point, my dad became a different person. the good memories and the effort is fine, but it's not a cover for the trauma. Well, I understand that, and I'm not trying to make it that. I'm just saying that's part of this. It's more complex. My dad did the best he could. He always put a roof over my head. He always put food on my table. You know, I never went hungry, obviously. But there was this undercurrent of psychological abuse that started around 11, 12 years old. And it didn't really start as abuse of the negative kind. It started as a different kind of abuse that I don't know that I've ever really talked to you guys about. And I don't even really know how to parse it as abuse. All I know is that it is sus and abusive. I don't know how. I don't really know how to parse it. When my friends started to become of that age, talking like 11, 12, 13, that age, like leading up into pubescence, my dad was single, and he would share in sometimes pretty fucking graphic detail his sexual exploits with the women he was dating. Like, not just centered around the graphic description of the sex and shit, but like centered around how he would play them against one another. And that's good, because you can get pussy here and you can get pussy there, and the pussy doesn't know that you're getting pussy there, and blah, blah, blah. It was that, right? And like, as kids that were launching into that pubescence, right? It didn't hit us like, oh my God, ew. It was like, whoa, an adult that's willing to talk about hella adult things with us and like teach us how to get pussy, right? He never touched anybody. He never fucking, like, I don't want to fucking imply that about my dad. See, that's why I've been very careful if I've talked about this before, because it wasn't like that. I really don't think he was getting off on it sexually. It was just the power move, I think, for him. He was that age once, and he knew what we were interested in, and he was single, and he was able to, you know, give us this like, oh yeah, I do this, and I do that, and I do this, and I do that, right? It's definitely inappropriate. That I know. On what level and for what reason, I don't know. I call that exploitation and psychological manipulation on a developing brain that doesn't understand the implications of a very innately adult thing. I agree. Does your mom still speak to your dad? I won't speak for my mom at all. I honestly don't know. I mean, he is the father of her children, so I assume that every once in a while they have contact. I know for sure that, like, they don't see each other often or talk often. My mom's remarried and has been for fucking ever, and so is he. When you failed your dad's expectations in life, did your dad let you off the hook by saying at least you did the best you could? No. There's no getting off the hook with my dad. The way off the hook with my dad is a way that I just wasn't going to take. The way off my hook with my dad would be to meet his expectations of what I should have been as a man. And I was not about to do it. I can't do it. I'm not him. So because I'm not that, I can never get off that hook. So I cut the fishing line. He left the hook in me, but at least I can go around and ambulate and do my own thing now. I'm not on his line anymore. I do think he did it deliberately, and as fucked up and backwards as this rationale is, I think he did it to toughen me up. I think if you were to ask him, I think his genuine answer would be, I wanted you to be a man. I don't buy the rationale, but I think that that would be what he would say about it. He named me after him. So this idea that he wanted to mold me into something is, I was a larva laying on the table. What was his dad like? Abusive and horrible. Yes, I did confront my dad on the way I was raised. It was the last time that we spoke. Being a man meant being him. Having a family, having a good job that you're stable at for a long time, moving up through the ranks at that job to make more money, providing for a family like he did. That is what my dad considered being a man. What time is it PST? Can somebody give me that? What time is it, baby?
11:16.
Okay, I got a little more time. Thank you. Got about half an hour before I gotta vamoose. How's your relationship with your sisters?
I've only met 2 of them.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
I grew up with 5 sisters in total. 1 biological sister and 4 stepsisters, 2 from either side of my family. So my mom remarried a man who had 2 girls from a previous marriage. My dad remarried a woman that had 2 girls from a previous marriage. The 2 girls from my dad's side, one of them was already an adult. So she's actually older than me, but already an adult, like moved out, like 21 plus when they got together. So I didn't really grow up with her. The other one, a couple of years behind me in school. So I did grow up with her. And then on the other side of my family, my stepdad's girls were like sisters to me. They came into the family as little rodents, and I was their big brother, and that's just the way it was. As to how those relationships are now, I don't speak to anybody on my dad's side of the family. It's not that I wouldn't. If one of them picked up the phone, I would certainly answer it. But I don't think that they want that from me, and that has been an ongoing thing. Even back when we were all a blended family and some of us living under the same roof, there was a very implicit kind of, you're not, and I think this came probably from previous experience with their mom dating somebody, so I don't blame them for it. But by the time that side of the family got together, they were already teenagers / adults. They didn't want to know us on that level. They weren't looking for a brother and a sister, and I never forced that or pushed that. On my mom's side, it was much more of a blended family in the traditional sense, where it's like those little girls looked up to me as their big brother, and I looked at them as my little sisters. So.
Oh, a sneaky no profile pic almost slipped away.
Nope. I'm not going to impugn my sister by calling her pejoratives here. My sister is an evangelical Christian.
You also said it twice, so.
Right.
You can have 300 seconds.
Yeah, that's kind of lame. Like, you're talking about my sister. I'm like, look, I don't agree with my sister on matters of religious philosophy or political philosophy, but that doesn't mean that I want to impugn her. She's a good person. She's fucking wicked smart. And so are her children. My eldest niece would probably humiliate you in a debate. Let's put it that way. So give respect where it's due. She'd probably humiliate me in a debate. She read Grey's Anatomy when she was 6 years old, and it's still her favorite book.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Spoopy D.
She is Spoopy D.
Put a blanket on Dinor once with his green light on, and he was Spoopy.
He was Ghost Dinor. No, that's just Amelia's channel that she uses. Like, she changed the name back when we first got together around early on when she started interacting in the streams.
I used to be a filthy no profile picture.
Right.
I got banned, and that's when I got modded.
Yep.
And then I decided to set a good example and get a PFP.
There you go. Grey's Anatomy is a lame TV show, not a book. Noah, you're too stupid to participate in this conversation, my friend. My niece has got great parents, and I can't wait to see the person she grows into. That's the cool thing about me, is I'm an uncle more than most people get to be an uncle. I've got a lot of little nieces and nephews on the come up, and it's going to be interesting to see how they turn into little people. I got to meet a bunch of them, not meet for the first time, but I got to see a bunch of them for the first time in a long time just the other day. Drove and, made the drive to visit my mom and had like a family event, talk with my cousins and stuff. Got to see all their little kids, who the last time I saw them, they were little beans. And one of them is bigger than me now. It was fucking insane seeing him. My little second cousin, or I guess he'd be my little third cousin, he was like a little bean the last time I saw him running around. And now he's like fucking a head taller than me. I was like, God damn, what happened to you? Our little thing was like, what's up, dog? When he was little, he would come up to me and be like, what's up, dog?
Are you talking about the one that helped me get directions?
Yeah. The guy that rode with you. Yeah. The last time I saw him, he was a bean.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, what's up, dog? And I looked at him, and it took me a second when I saw him this time, and he's like, what's up, dog? I was like, God damn, it's you? What's up, dog? Hugged him up. But it's just crazy. What's up, dog? I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, he recognized you because you're still Paul in there.
Oh, yeah, I haven't changed in his eyes.
Yeah.
I'm like, last time he saw me, I was a bearded. I might have had shorter hair or something, but it's me. I was a beardy guy, beardy fat guy. He remembers Uncle Paul. You know what I mean? Which is how they refer to me, just due to the age difference and shit. But it was me that took a couple of seconds, because in the 5 or 6 years it's been since I seen little dude, he went like, hey, Uncle Salty. That would have been funny. He does watch my shit.
Yeah.
He told me very quietly that night. He's not like, he's a very pensive dude. He likes to sit back and listen to adult conversations. But the couple of times he talked to me, he was like, yeah, I watch your YouTube. I was like, cool, really? I was like, you ever comment or anything? He's like, no, man, no. I was like, which one do you watch? He's like, you're deep fat fried. And I was like, oh, cool, bro, cool.
Yeah, and he's probably the kind of person that would never be like, "Hey, I'm."
He didn't ask me for no selfie or nothing. Yeah. You know who did ask me for a selfie?
Yeah.
His grandpa.
Yeah. Asked me for a selfie. His dad's dad, who is my cousin, asked me for a selfie. He was like, "Dude, can I get a selfie with you?" I'm like, yeah. Wait, no, not his grandpa. His uncle. Mm-hmm. You were mixing up.
Yeah. It's hard to fucking keep track. Whatever. I know, that's fine. I take selfies with people all the time. It doesn't. Your cousin is a lurker. He is, dude. I don't think he knows about Highdeology, but he watches Deep Fat Fried. He's like, yeah, dog. I watch your show, dog. Like, oh? Yeah. I got in a little bit of like a weed disagreement with one of my cousin's wives too. It wasn't meant to be a disagreement, but she was like, because my cousin was talking to me about depression and stuff. Well, he was talking to me about weed because I was telling him, he's like, well, why do you smoke that, bro? Like, honestly, is it just like getting drunk? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. Like, you smoke it for recreational shit. I'm not saying I don't, but helps me with my back pain, helps me with my depression and anxiety. And he was like, oh man, you know, I have that too. I have all that shit. And I was like, well, it might help you know. So I'd never evangelize this shit. I'm not one of those people, but when people ask me about it, I'm honest. I said, you may want to try it, dude. It's fucking legal now. You can even go get a doctor exemption. Like, if you have a medical card and shit, you know, you've got enough shit that you just told me right there to get a medical card. You got back pain, you got fucking depression, anxiety, yeah? It's like, yeah. Then his wife fucking jumps in and she's like, he's also got a job where he, you know, blah, 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 blah. I won't go into what his job is, but... And I was like, well, yeah, you know, you got to take that into fucking account too. But I'm not advocating for him to get blazed and go to work. I'm just saying, like, when he gets off of work, there's really functionally no difference between him drinking 3 beers and fucking sitting down and smoking a joint, you know?
Yeah, I think his wife's contention was like, oh, that's just self-medicating, or that's just...
Well, that's how she came at me. Yeah. She was like, well, let me ask you this, because I was telling her, I was like, it really helps me. But you roll your eyes all you want, but you have to understand, you have to engage this shit with reality, rather than just like, fuck you, you know? So she came at me and she was like, oh yeah? Well, let me ask you a question then, and be honest. And I was like, okay. She goes, do you just do it to self-medicate? Or have you actually, like, addressed your problems? And I was like, well, and I was just honest with her. I said, I spent 4 years on the couch learning how to be a human being. Maybe sometime in the future I might need some more time on the couch. I'm medicated in other ways other than weed. I see a psychiatrist who prescribes me medications based on my stuff. This is just one of the ways that I deal with not only the depression and anxiety, but the physical pain, because I'm not on anything for that. I'm not on any kind of fucking opioids or any kind of pain relief thing other than what I can do for myself for the constant pain in my back and shoulders and neck. And she just kind of like was like, oh, you know what I mean? She couldn't come back and say, well, you did nothing. And but what she did was she spun it into, well, tell him that. Tell him that you don't just smoke weed and everything goes away. And I was like, oh no, I'm fucking happy to do that. This did not cure me. Nor would it cure anybody of that. Unless they've got real minor versions. Like if you've got minor seasonal depression, you might be able to self-medicate only with, like, during that time you smoke some J's every once in a while. But I'm talking about people that got clinical level anxiety, depression, like me, like my cousin.
Like weed might be like the only thing you might need for pain or something.
Pain, right. Yeah. I opened her eyes on that too. I was like, look, dude, I know this dude hurts. Mm-hmm. He's a big dude like me. My cousin is the cousin I'm talking about, almost the exact same height as me. Within the same weight as me, right? Probably. I would say he might be a little heavier than me, but not by much. He carries his weight a little different. But not by much. We're about the same, right? And I know his back fucking hurts every day. His little kid just had scoliosis surgery.
So he probably has some mild one that maybe he didn't notice or something.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know this dude hurts.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing. It was like she wanted me to tell him that like you don't get over depression and anxiety by just smoking weed. And I was happy to do that. I was like, you need to defer to your wife on that one. Because I'm not trying to sell you like you just smoke a joint and you're not depressed anymore. That's not the way it works. If you don't do it in the right kind of setting or you do it the wrong kind of way, it can worsen your depression. It can worsen your anxiety. And she was like, see? But I was like, I'm not trying to make a point against it. I'm just saying you got to be smart about how you do it. Go to a doctor, you know, yada, yada. And that's where we left it. But she was very anti him being on fucking weed. As was most of the people around the table.
Mm-hmm. Like, even the dude that was retired, you were like, he was like,
His wife, though.
Yeah.
He was fine with it. But yeah, no, it's, you know. But it became a topic of conversation. And by the end of it, I think they looked at it different. Mm-hmm. Because she was talking about, like, you just get fucking stoned and you don't want to do anything. And I looked at her and I was like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've stepped up and gotten up and stepped away from everybody 2 or 3 times in the last hour, and I smoked half a joint, 3/4 of a joint. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of weed for the average person. Do I seem like so stoned I can't carry on a conversation?
Yeah, it's like them with their beers. They
right.
drink more beers than the average person, but their tolerance is high.
Right.
Enough.
You guys have been drinking, and I didn't throw it back in their face like they drank too much, but I was like, you guys been drinking all day. You're talking. I smoked half a J, and I'm talking. You know, people have this, like, idea that you take a hit or two of this and you turn into, like, whoa, let's just play Call of Duty, man. You know, like, and it's just a misconception. That's not the way it is. My dad drinks like a fish, and the first time he found out I ate edibles when I went to Seattle, he lost his mind. Been drinking when I was very young, of course. Like, my mom and stepdad are pretty cool with it, but my stepdad's an old school pothead from back in the day. Mm-hmm. So he's always kind of been cool with it. Mm-hmm. My mom, a little less so, like, but now in her older age, there have been several times now where I've been around, she's like, hand me that PJ.
Well, she's using it more, like, purely medicinally, I think.
Or just as a way to just get a buzz.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter.
But it seems like she's only asked you when she's in pain.
Right. She's got her back pain is flared up or whatever.
Feet pain.
Or, yeah. Anytime her joints are all fucked. So any kind of pain, she'll go, PJ, help me light that up. So I'll take the bowl over there and I'll carb it for her and I'll give her a couple little hits and she's happy with it. But it, you know, back in the day, she was very anti-weed, and so was my stepdad. Like, with us as kids. Yeah, I have one sister that smokes, so we chill on that.
As far as you know.
As far as I know, yeah. We chill on that level. And I've got one sister that would never fucking smoke or have smoke around her kids.
Yeah, it was like freaking out when her mother-in-law was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I just used weed for fun this very morning, actually. Well, yeah, I mean, cool. Good on you, bro. But I tell you what, dude, the eldest dude that was there, my retired cousin, he wanted to see this shit. He asked me. I didn't push it on him. He was like, let me see that. He was like, fuck, this is crazy. And I was like, yeah, dude, it's legal now. So it's like, he was like, so does this, like, what is this? And I helped him open it, and he was like, whoa. I was like, yeah, it's just a bunch of pre-rolls. I get it so I can carry them around with me. I take a puff here and there when I want to. And he's like, oh. So he was like, he's a dude that was very anti-marijuana. And he was like super interested in it. And his wife was like, he was like, dude, do you think you could have, like, do you think she could have a little bit? She's in pain. Her neck has been all fucked up. I was like, fuck yeah. Why do you think I brought 14? There's 14 of them in there. Like, if you want some, they're there for you. Go ahead. So she lit it up. She took a couple puffs and got good and baked. Handed it over to me, and I finished it. You know, but whatever. His mind was definitely softened on the idea. Because he was a dude that, like, I remember 2 or 3 visits ago, back when I was still living in Louisiana, he got mad because me and TJ were in Mom's pool at night, and one of the kids wandered over and we had a joint. And it wasn't like the kid was right there with us, but the kid was over on the other side of the pool.
Yeah.
And me and TJ were sitting on the other side of the pool just passing a J back and forth. And he got mad at me for exposing, you know what I mean? Which I wasn't. I wasn't like blowing big wads of pot smoke. They came over after we were already smoking a joint. We were doing adult shit. They came over and started doing kid shit, you know? So his whole mind and timber has changed on it, which is a good thing, you know? It just goes to show you there's headway to be made with people.
Hey, Lodi. You want to go back in? Is that why you're jumping on me?
I think you do. I'll be in a sec, babe. I'm going to end this up here in a minute. Got to go get ready for my shooting day. Well, I understand where he was coming from, and I squashed that shit right away. I said, I didn't let it foment, you know what I mean? As soon as I heard that, because he didn't come to me and get mad at me. He told my mom he was mad at me and TJ and my friends for smoking pot over there by the side of the pool. And so I immediately went to him, and I was like, bro, I am so sorry. I didn't know what your hard line was. We were out there. It was dark. It was after dark. We were just chilling, and the kids fucking came and went and got in the hot tub area thing. And, you know, for us, it's like having a beer. And I understand it ain't like that for you, and I'm sorry. We know the limits now. We'll go open around the corner. And it would diffuse the whole fucking thing. He was like, oh. I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, it's cool, dude. I overreacted. It's not a big deal. But he went from that to not having a problem with me sitting around the whole table smoking a joint and talking about it and passing it to his wife, right? So it's like people soften. People understand different ideas. It just takes time sometimes, you know? It doesn't mean you give up. That's I think the point I'm trying to make. There's a lot of people that just want to give up on a whole class of people because this guy I'm talking about is one of those people. If you'd listened to his politics back in the day, you'd have been like, that dude, it ain't even worth your time engaging him. But because not just me, but other people have, and years have gone by, and he's a naturally inquisitive dude, he has softened. Considerably softened. Tell that to the leftists who say I won't converse with no fascist or Trump supporter. I told you guys this, but I'll go back into it real quick here at the end, and I have to end real soon. But one of my cousins that I spent a lot of time talking with day before yesterday, on Memorial Day, Monday, or Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? No, yesterday was Tuesday. Anyway, whatever. I'm a stoner. Fuck off. 2 days ago. He used the term, like everybody was a faggot, everybody was gay. He was like and I don't think he knows I'm a bisexual dude. And I had the choice at that point, like, do I fucking just shut down the whole fucking thing and be confrontational about it? No. And what ended up happening was, instead of me getting all offended and shutting down the conversation because he's using faggot like I used to use it in the 90s, I set that aside. I know he's not trying to hurt my fucking feelings by using it. He doesn't know, right? I don't fucking try and use my sexuality as a weapon against him, which would immediately shut down the conversation. I just ignored it. And we went on to have conversations where we disagreed, where he ended up seeing my point of view. Maybe not changing his entire way of thinking, but seeing that I wasn't totally against a lot of the foundational principles that he is for, like individual freedom, individual liberty. Like these are things that are hard sticking points for him, and he sees an answer to that in conservatism, right? And so rather than me getting all fucking faux offended, I engaged him. I set aside the fact that he was using faggot like it was a fucking piece of punctuation, just like I did in the 90s. Everything was gay. Everything was a gay innuendo. I set aside that shit and I talked to him anyway. And as a result of that, he has a different conception of me than he had going into the conversation. Right, no, I get it, and I was kind of offended by it. I am not saying that I wasn't offended by it. In fact, I was actually kind of blown away by how much he used it. And to be quite frank, it may have been an accelerated use of it because he has heard through the grapevine that I'm fucking bi. And he was trying to confront me on it in that way, but I didn't bite the bait if that was the case. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that every time he used it, every time he made a fucking stupid gay joke or called somebody a faggot or everything was gay, everything was butt fucking, everything was blah, 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 right? I'm not going to claim that I wasn't offended by it. But see, being offended by something doesn't mean that you always have to disengage from it, is kind of the point I'm making. And me just going like, hey, stop with that faggot shit. I know faggots, okay? I know the people that you're talking about. I don't appreciate them being talked about like that. And we would have gotten a verbal fight. He would end up storming off, and the conversation that followed would never have happened. It would have hardened him further that his position is right. Oh, look, here's somebody at my fucking own family get-together policing my fucking language, right? He didn't wound me forever by using the term faggot 90 times. Any more than I'm wounding people by using it contextually now. Okay? I'm not saying it wasn't offensive. I'm not saying on some level it wasn't hurtful. But I chose to not engage on that level and to try and engage on the actual arguments, whether they were philosophical, economic, electoral in nature, labor. All of those conversations happened after he started fucking using the word faggot judiciously, right? And if I had stopped him there, that whole conversation that ended with me giving him a big old fucking bear hug and giving him my phone number and making sure we still had each other's numbers, wouldn't have happened. Yes? So I'm not saying you tolerate that shit in every sense. You have to make that decision for yourself. But I'm just letting you know that because I decided to swallow my fucking offense and not bite that bait, we had a substantive conversation that may have planted a seed in his mind that changes the way he thinks about things. Maybe not. I can't fucking water it for him. But we had a conversation, and his position on things remarkably softened when he found out I wasn't anti-gun, I wasn't this, I wasn't that. He assumed all this shit about me because he's got his head up there in the fucking conservative bubble. And had I gone just like, hey, don't use faggot, I would have just confirmed everything he hears in that conservative bubble. Like, they're more fucking interested in shutting down your language than they are in engaging in a conversation with you. Yep, he's just the type of leftist that fucking Tucker Carlson tells me about. He's just the type of leftist I hear about on Hannity. Just the type of leftist I hear about when I'm listening to Mark Levin and I'm driving to work. Right? Doesn't mean that it's a bad thing necessarily to call out that type of homophobic situation in every time it comes across you. It just means that you can make the choice. Whether you see value in that or not, I don't know. Bring us along while you get set up for work. Well, I just got a text from Scotty saying he was going to be a little late, so I got time to finish this smoke, but I'm not going to do that. Right? It just, I don't know. I don't know how well I elucidated my position on that. I hope it was decent. Contact theory in action, right? And of course, I've got a hook on him and him on me. We're blood relatives. We grew up together. We were kids together. Any pre-shooting rituals you partake in? Most of it is just kind of getting my shooting area ready. Like if there's an empty cup from the night before or something, I get that out of there. I fill up my water. I get that all nice and cold and a big glass of water so I can hydrate throughout. Because I know I'm going to be talking a lot. Get my lights turned on, make sure that the camera looks good. You know, just the basic kind of technical shit. My pregame ritual has increasingly become this. And I see this as like a vocal and mental warm-up for my shooting day a lot of the time. So you guys are already getting a look at my pre-show ritual, which is getting myself in that conversational mode, you know. Going from woken Paul that doesn't want to talk to anybody to Paul that's ready to engage with guys, you know, in the fucking context of making a show. You guys will be the first to hear if there's updates to a potential meetup. I will tell you it's looking slimmer and slimmer that it's going to happen ultra soon, but it's looking really possible that it can happen in the medium distance. How many hours do you spend talking every day, would you say? Depends on the day, but at least 8 hours. At least. Oh. I sent you a super chat a while back. I'm sorry, Emperor Ghidorah. Let me fucking roll it back and try and find it. If I can't find it, 'cause sometimes I see a Blue Noble. Was it before him? Yeah, I don't know, bro. If you sent it a while back, go ahead and say it again, and because I don't see it. But you can say whatever you said in the super chat again, and I'll give you your reaction. But I can't see it. But if you did donate, thank you for that. If you didn't, nice troll. We have not finished Deadwood, no. I already had a shower, but I'm going to bed like a degenerate. That's, you know, you got to do that sometimes. There's nothing like going to bed clean. Take a nice nap midday. The days where you can do that are few and far between, but you should cherish them. Ugh. Man, these fucking allergies are just going to get so much worse as these months trudge on. I'm going to have to go to the doctor, yo. That's just it. It's gotten to the point. Oh, nice. Fucking pressure change. I love that. I love when the air pressure changes suddenly. And I get the ringing ear. Oh, and here comes the wind. Wonder what caused this. But anyway, I'm gonna have to get some fucking allergy shots or some shit. Because I'm just suffering every fucking day with this postnasal drip. And that itchy fucking puffy eye shit. Yeah, dude. One ear or the other will just go like and start ringing. I get tinnitus. Little hint of dizziness, and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah. Little change in air pressure, and here comes like, it's not a wind storm, but here comes this breeze that wasn't happening. I don't want to take something that's a stimulant, because that stuff that is ultimately a stimulant or heavily stimulant will trigger my panic, or can trigger my panic attacks, so I don't do that shit. I need to find something. Well, it can be because you have ear damage too. And I have that really, really badly in this ear, which is the one that started ringing. My right ear is a fucking mess. And it's just from abuse of my fucking... I wore nice headphones back in the day, plugged into an old analog stereo where I could crank it fucking loud. And I used to blow my fucking head off with music that I was into. And the consequence is I'm going to go deaf in this ear. And this ear, who the fuck knows? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this. What a ray of sunshine to end it on. I'm going to be deaf. Bye.